Welcome to Growing Up B2B. I'm Delia, and I'm the second generation president of Delia Associates. We are the place where B2B brands go to grow. Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing Up B2B. I'm your host, Delia. I'm the second generation president of Delia Associates, the place where B2B brands go to grow. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. He's Mark Howe, president and CEO of the Knott's Company. Mark is the second generation in his family to lead the company, which is now 72 years old. Headquartered in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, the Knott's Company provides a comprehensive range of automation and motion control products, including robotics, pneumatics, and machine vision systems for a broad range of industries involved with manufacturing, processing, and assembly. The company has an established reputation in providing highly personalized service, expert problem-solving capabilities, and very deep product knowledge. Hey, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time.
Awesome. Hey, let's start at the beginning. Going back to your childhood, what were some of your earliest memories of the Knott's Company growing up?
Been around here a long time, so I got plenty of memories to go with there. But I think one of my earliest memories was when I was 4, and my mom got me all dressed up in a suit. I had a little briefcase and went to work with my dad for the day. Considering he retired at 44 years, so I was exposed to it basically my entire life.
Wow. What was that first day like at 4 years old? You remember?
A lot of walking around the warehouse because the warehouse is a lot different now than it was then. But meeting the people, a lot of good people here over the years. So it was really a unique memory to get it started off.
And from there, had you involved at all growing up, like around the business? Did you do anything interactive with the business?
Yeah, growing up through high school, as soon as I turned 14, got my working papers, was illegal to put in some hours over the summer. So I was in the warehouse, putting assemblies together, doing some simple projects, cycle count, et cetera, because we had a lot of, again, it was a lot different. We had a lot more different type of inventory model back then. But yeah, I was pretty hands-on from high school on.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you went to the University of Delaware. You got a degree in mechanical engineering. So when you were in college, were you already thinking that you might be joining the family business, or were you exploring some other career paths as well?
That was my plan right out of the gate. I had to focus on that. I went engineering because I like the tinkering and doing stuff with mechanical properties and everything that goes with that. But the plan was to get involved with the business, and I didn't apply anywhere else. I think I started working maybe a week after I graduated.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So just stepped right into it. But it's interesting, your path, because a lot of times people don't quite have that early vision that, yeah, that I'm gonna do this. And not only that, you went to school for a degree that would be directly applicable to what you would be doing. So I guess it's safe to say that even at a young age, you were inclined or predisposed to follow a path of engineering.
Either that or my dad brainwashed me into wanting to go the path of business. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed manufacturing. I enjoyed being in this space, and it was a fortunate to have the opportunity to dive into the space.
So if you were to take me back from a moment, how old would you say you were when you kind of rationalized, yeah, I'm probably going into the family business? Was that in high school? Was that pre-high school? Was that college?
Probably early college, I would say, because in high school we did some CAD work. We did some I would say some basic intro engineering classes, and that set the tone for at least the path of engineering. And then just being exposed to the business for so long and understanding it, just the mindset of a small business really resonated with me.
Would you say that made it fairly easy to step into the business when you ultimately did? And that was probably about what, 15 years ago, right? When you first officially walked through the doors, right? As an employee.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be 18 years.
Or 18
So,
years. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, no, I kind of look back. I feel like I went from 5 years to 18 years. Like I don't, there's a big gap in the middle there. Yeah, it helped. I think there was, there's so much I didn't know when I went into that first role. I had a very narrow scope because of the type of role, but I had a lot to learn. Maybe in my mind, a young, immature male, I thought I knew the world at that moment. But again, over the years, I've learned that I didn't know anything at that point.
Well, I can definitely relate because much like yourself, I was exposed to our family business at a young age. Yeah, probably 4 years old was the first time I set foot in back then the office was in actually where you're based now in Berkeley Heights.
Okay.
But I realized that there was a lot of things that I knew. And then in the first day, wow, there's so much I don't know. And that was, oh boy, I got a lot to learn here.
Yeah.
What was really interesting in your path, because I looked up your background, you touched a number of roles, and it would seem of escalating responsibility. So was it always the plan for you to ultimately take over, or did that kind of transitions, did those sort of evolve over time?
I don't know if it was the plan. I would definitely say it was my personal goal at that point, but I appreciated the journey because again, I got to understand frontline day-to-day manufacturing relationships and so forth. And also the ability to build up that knowledge that if I didn't have those opportunities, I don't think I would be in the position I am in today.
If you could talk a little bit about the exposure to the different roles, how would you say they may have prepared you to ultimately step into the CEO role, the leadership role?
Yeah, I think if there was the biggest lesson, I would say is primarily understanding the responsibilities of each position and how it impacts the overall performance of the company. Because I think a challenge of the president CEO level is you don't always understand the front line. And I think by being on the front line, because one of our main entry level positions is that 80/20 CAD role. We've had some great people come through there. We've been very fortunate to build off of that role. And like I said, it sets a tone. It's some good day to day work. You deal with a good amount of customers, and then build that foundational knowledge and that foundational experience that you can grow off of.
Awesome, awesome. And now, what's also a little bit interesting in your particular path is that you overlapped with your father, Rick Howe, for up until he retired, which was roughly 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So talk to us a little bit about that. What was that like, the working relationship with dad day to day?
the day to day. Oh man, that was it was good. It was good for the most part. We had similar vision on where the company wanted to go. We didn't always agree on every single decision, and but what I thankfully would leverage is the understanding that he's been here a lot longer than I have, and he knows a whole lot more than I do. And he got to where he was with some hard work and building sales territories and customers, et cetera. So yeah, there was again for the most part, I was blessed because it was we really saw eye to eye in a lot of different tactics, different strategies, handle certain situations differently, but that's part of just different personalities and different people.
Absolutely. So when you didn't see eye to eye, and those were there, how did the two of you work through when there was difference of opinion? How did you constructively work through those moments?
Um, Constructively might be a strong word. No, we for the most part just take a moment, take some space, walk away, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Really try to say, okay, why do they feel this way? Why might they not agree? Did I not explain it well enough, or did they not hear the key points? There's sometimes some a little bit of space, especially when you're an office apart, is always a good thing, and then at least come back to it with a little more clear mind and really try to work the problem versus working the emotions.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking to a crazy passionate Italian who had a crazy passionate Italian dad. So I think the way we worked through it was who's crazy and more crazy and passionate about this idea, and that person wins. With the understanding
Uh-huh.
that there will be no "I told you so" at the back end if it doesn't work out. So
Yep.
it's about who wants it more,
Yeah,
which
no,
may not
I
be
think,
best practice, but that's how we did it.
but it worked. It worked. It got you where you got to go. I think
Yeah.
the one of the things I would say I really appreciate what he did for me is he let me fail. He let me work a problem. If it didn't work out, let me fail and let me try to readdress it. We're not Italian, so we didn't get into the crazy yelling battles, but definitely had some moments of a different opinion. But space and clear heads let us work through it.
And that's huge in terms of really accelerating your learning. And it's a hard thing to do when you're a parent
Yeah.
is to say, okay, there might be a failure here, but it's actually the best for to let that play out. It's best for Mark, it's best for the company, and he's going to learn probably a very valuable lesson at the back end of it. It's a hard thing to do, but a valuable thing to do because it ultimately would just make you better and
Yeah.
stronger and move faster the next time.
Yeah.
If there was something that, a takeaway from dad that really shapes how you lead today, something that you said, wow, he did this really well, what would that be?
He wasn't afraid to make a change, whether it be, well, there's two parts to that. So he wasn't afraid to make a change, but at the same time, he understood the value of the people in the organization. And when I say change, more of a strategic change, not like a personnel change. It's what he also taught me is the people make the company, not the products. So really understanding that and how to build on the people was a huge lesson. But industry moves fast. So if we don't make a change, we're not in business anymore. So we got to keep on our toes. We got to keep analyzing the market and adapting to what is thrown at us for our customers.
Cool, cool. So on the flip side of that, what's something that maybe you're choosing to do a bit differently than your dad may have, or a direction you're moving that might be a little different than maybe he would have now that you're CEO?
That's a great question. Trying to leverage technology a little bit more Not that he didn't do that. I think and I would say in the last 2 years, technology has really accelerated fast.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and I don't want to be unfair because some of the technology around today was not around 2, 3 years ago. Yeah, but for the most part, I really want to expand geographically. I think that's one area I'm focused on. That might be a little bit different, but as I said previously, our vision's really aligned in where we want to
Mhm.
go. There isn't a lot of variation with how we go to market.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And then as you were preparing from that transition of kind of being part of the team to being now the leader of the team, setting the vision, was there anything that you did in that transitional period as you were getting ready to assume this role that might be of a good takeaway?
Really try to understand more of I would say, the administrative side of the business. I was really, in all my roles, have been mostly frontline roles. We're small organizations, so dealing with the sales team is not a weekly meeting. It's a day-to-day conversation on the phone. So there's transitioning from that and really trying to delegate, which is a challenge. For the most part, I think the preparation really is coming down to understanding behind the scenes parts of the business, understanding the financials, the cash flow, and everything that I was not getting involved with on a day-to-day basis.
Cool. So represents some new learning, but
Yes.
always new learning, right? That's
Yeah.
been your whole career, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. If I'm not moving, an object in motion stays in motion. So
That's
that's kind of
right.
like my mindset.
So this is the next question I like to ask because it's a big one and it shows up a lot whenever there's a generational transition. So that's earning the respect of peers. Sometimes you're alongside people that, may have been there 20 years longer than you, 10 years longer than you. So earning their respect, what was that experience like for you to earn the respect of the team, if you will?
The To earn the respect of the team, yeah, because I feel like I've kind of straddled multi-generational. I think we had a lot of people here for 30 plus years, even when I was a couple of years into it. It's really doing what you say you're going to do is a main part, and executing. If you promise something, delivering. And then I'm a firm believer of hard work. Be the hardest worker in the room. And
Mhm.
that really, at least many generations, they appreciate that hard work. And then just realizing you don't know it all, which is,
Yeah,
I think, is one of the hardest things that when you're young coming into something is, I got this. I think I know it all.
yeah.
So those would be, I would say, hard work, understanding you don't know what you don't know, and executing on what you say you're going to do.
Excellent. Excellent. Was there ever a moment, and sometimes I know there certainly was for me, and one CEO I talked to said, gosh, every day, where you say, what am I doing here? Was there ever a moment looking back where you're like, did I make the right call here? Should I be here? Did you ever have kind of that holy SH moment? Like, why am I here?
Yeah, I think if you don't have one of those moments, then it's. I think it's worse. Yeah, and I think I've every now and then I'll have. All right, I need to take a deep breath. If we say we're facing some crazy delivery issues or something like that, or something that seems to Groundhog's Day, and then just taking a deep breath. Sometimes you got to just step away, take a deep breath, and realize, all right, this is what I want to do. I chose this path for a reason. But yeah, I think those every now and then those moments pop up. I think if they didn't pop up, I'd be more concerned.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Company around for now 72 years, amazing history. What are in your tenure, Mark? What are some of the biggest ways maybe that the business has evolved over your tenure with the company?
So we in our industry as a whole is facing a generational shift. So we're having new people come into it, new ideas. Customers are seeing the same generational shift. I see the evolution over like the last 5 to 10 years has definitely been a push into automation. While it has always existed, there's a lot more emphasis in that space now, and we need to make sure we have technologies, ideas, and the people to support that push for our customers. And we've always been blessed with some great people here, so it just makes it easier for our customers knowing that they have a reliable personal source to go to, because there's a lot of consolidation in our industry as well. So we're trying to keep our personality, keep our values, and
Mhm.
make sure we're always there for the customers.
Nice. And I certainly can attest to probably on your customer side, seeing maybe a generation of personnel that are retiring, exiting, and oftentimes working on maybe legacy equipment where, yeah, it's science, but it's also a bit of art where there's some tribal knowledge that's walking out the door. So I'd have to think that there's some concerns when those situations are showing up and they may not necessarily have that next person to fill that role or that next person coming in doesn't have that expertise or knowledge base of the person that's departing or retiring. So do you ever run into those scenarios with customers like that? Do you ever see that in your customer base, that concern about, oh gosh, we've got a lot of people that are aging out. What do we do?
Yeah, it became a lot more prevalent during post COVID and really where some people who were not ready to retire decided to retire or move or
Hmm.
relocate. So we do see that pretty frequently, more in the control space, where you have that one person that understood all the controls and all the programming language, and then all of a sudden they retired, and it's okay. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that really accelerated post the everything around the pandemic because it wasn't as much of a topic prior to that.
Okay. Okay. And I would think that a lot of your solutions could or would cater to that challenge with robotics, with automation, with new tools, new technologies that would be more maybe conducive to that rising generation of operator who might be more inclined to work with computerized controls or technologies that maybe that departing generation is not as familiar with, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely the colleges are doing a lot more to invest in that technology, which is great to see. And really, we just need to keep building that next generational workforce and realizing that manufacturing is a necessary part of the economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If one of our listeners was at the crossroads where on your particular journey you had an inkling that you would join the family business and you really oriented your education and your whole career to ultimately assuming the leadership role, the CEO role. But if
Mhm.
somebody was at the crossroads and they weren't sure, what might be a piece of advice you'd give them to say, okay, here's some things to think about as you're weighing that decision?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Now, there's going to be apprehension is okay, and understanding. Like I said before, you don't know what you don't know, so you can't guess where tomorrow's going to take you. But me personally, I'm happy I took down this path. There's definitely some learning experiences, some bump in the road. I just feel like I don't want maybe it's a strong statement, but I feel more controlled of my path and my destiny because of the opportunity that was available to me. But I weigh out the thoughts. What's your 3 year, 5 year plan? How quickly, will you take over the reins? Like you said, overlap. How much overlap do you have to really understand the business? There's no harm in trying. Might as well take a shot at.
Yeah. And I would have to think that it must have been very reassuring to your dad to watch your path and watch your journey and to know that there was a succession that was well lined up. Whereas so many times I'll talk to a CEO or an owner of a business and they might say something like, I have to sell outside because my son, my daughter, they're just not going to be in a ready position soon enough to lead. And I'm running out of time. It's
Mm-hmm.
time for me to step down. And that's a tough position to be in because then you're stuck. You're stuck in the
Yeah.
middle where, you want to pass the reins, but you feel that they're not ready. Whereas in your dad's case, you had this great runway to
Mm-hmm.
prepare and to learn and to see all sides of the business. And I imagine when you ultimately stepped into the CEO role, it was rather natural because you'd seen it all and you'd done it all at that point, just about.
Yeah. 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 It was, again, I was fortunate to have that runway. Maybe when I was 2 years in, 3 years, like, oh, when is it ever going to happen? You get that, you don't know what the future holds. But now looking back now, I'm thankful that I had that because there was a lot I didn't know and there's still a lot I don't know, but at least I have some foundation to build off of.
And as far as your dad, does he ever come around? Is he available to you to answer a
Yeah.
question and all that stuff? Is he still kind of,
Yeah,
you know,
we talk frequently. I still bounce ideas off of him. He's a good sounding board, and because it's the ability to bounce ideas off somebody who's had similar experience. He comes around to use the dumpster at the office. That's about his main visit. I guess it's one of the perks you get to. But we'll talk shop. He thankfully lives pretty close to me, and there's only so much sounding. There's only so many people you can bounce certain ideas off of, and thankfully I have that right now.
yeah, yeah. And I can attest to the last, my dad retired and he passed 12 years after, but in those 12 years, he was a tremendous mentor. And he'd often say, I don't really understand your business anymore because we had moved into more technology things. But all the things that I was coming to him were really, I would say, probably more like people issues. How do I
Mhm.
address this issue with a person on the team? How do I approach a client on this question? They were very much people-centric and not tech-centric. And those
Yeah.
types of things, he had a knowledge base, expertise. Yeah, I've done that before. I've seen that before. Here's the playbook for that. So I found that to be invaluable in those years, for sure.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. It's more the not the products, not the problem. Let's say the engineering problem is it's the day to day. How do you handle this situation? How would you approach this? It's that, and then bouncing my approach and saying, oh, that could work, but hey, try this.
Yeah.
Things of that approach, and then letting me run with it based on blending the two ideas together.
That's great. That's great that he's still around and willing to lend an ear and lend his 2 cents when you need it. What's something about working in a family-led or multi-generation business that an outsider may not see or fully understand or appreciate?
I would say it's well, maybe me personally is I don't want to fail the people in the building. That's my drive. That's my day to day. I think that stands out to me, but it's there's also some with the family business you can do you can take certain approaches to different problems that maybe a big corporate business cannot take. But yeah, no, that's a good question because I think it's more or less the you're in control of the destiny to a certain degree. And if you surround yourself with great people and the right people, it's beneficial for everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you say that you kind of looked at your dad's leadership style and your leadership style? How would you characterize them as maybe the same, different, or some blend?
I say there's some blend. He did a good job of delegating. I do a terrible job of delegating. I'm more like a hands-on work the problem type person. I'll get in the weeds, which again could distract from other things that I should be doing. But for the most part, how to work the problem, what's the steps behind the problem. We have some overlap in that space. But he
Mhm.
did a much better job of delegating than I did, than I do.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. So let's look a little bit to the future now. What's next for you or the Knots Company? What are some initiatives or areas of growth or technologies that's really exciting you right now?
I think the what's next for us is the continued investment in robotics and automation, and then also being able to deliver solutions faster, having the customer understand where the benefits are. I'm really excited about artificial intelligence. I feel like it's a buzzword, but there is a lot of significant use cases for it as I learn day to day. But it's only a matter of time till the robotics have more capabilities due to the artificial intelligence. So that's I'm really excited in that space, and also just continuing to invest in our digital e-com platform. We had a go at it. It wasn't successful. We learned a lot of lessons and we're improving on those. And then just continue to invest in the knowledge of the workforce because people call us because we are their experts on the products.
Mhm.
We have to be knowledgeable. And as new generations come in to the organization, we have to educate them. It's just going to take some time because a gentleman, one of our sales guys just retired after 37 years. That's a lot of experience and
Yeah.
we got to build on that. Thankfully, we got great people that are learning fast and really care about the customers.
And I think it's great, and you've reaffirmed that a few times, the continuous learning of your journey, but that's really almost like I would almost call that a core value at the Knots Company, because if you look under the hood, there's so many different brands that you represent, so many different process types, so many different case scenarios that you support. The knowledge base to handle it all is almost staggering, and your people have to, I imagine, always be learning something new.
Yeah, every day we're learning something.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. If somebody was interested in talking to you, Mark, or learning more about the Knots Company, what's the best way for them to connect?
To go to our website, knotsco.com. We got a bunch of different ways. You got to chat, you got to request more information. We just rebuilt our website. So there's a lot more availability to find resources within our website. We do a lot on the LinkedIn platform. And then also just you can shoot an email to solutions@knotsco.com and we'll connect you with the right person to address your needs.
Awesome. Awesome. Mark, hey, thank you so much for speaking with us today. This was great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So again, we've been speaking with Mark Howe. He's the CEO of the Knots Company, and I'm your host, Ed Delia. Thanks so much for joining us here on Growing Up B2B, and have a wonderful day. Take care all.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, Mark.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into Growing Up B2B. To explore more episodes and insights, visit podcast.delianet.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice. Having worked with hundreds of family-led businesses across my career, and being a second-generation leader myself, I'm on a mission to help every family business I meet achieve next-level growth for their organization. So feel free also to connect with me on LinkedIn and let's support each other. You can also find out more about my company at delianet.com. Again, I'm your host, Ed Delia, and thanks so much for joining us today. Take care.